Welcome back. The Premier League is fighting amongst itself with clubs versus fans, clubs versus clubs, and one club versus the Premier League. What is going to happen? With the Premier League clubs voting 19-1 to keep VAR, it is clear that the clubs do not care about the fans because this is the worst decision they could have made. Wolves were the only club to vote against VAR, and they were the club to bring up the case against VAR, and they were right to do so because it is ruining the fan experience. VAR allows us to watch a goal and then not celebrate it because we do not know if it's going to be given, if there was a foul 5 minutes ago, or if it was offside 40 minutes ago, or anything. I know those are exaggerations, but it is absolutely ridiculous that VAR is still in the Premier League. Referees like Michael Oliver, Anthony Taylor, Howard Webb are absolutely horrendous and are ruining the game that we love. We need to protect it as fans, and we should have urged our clubs to vote against VAR, because now we're going to have to deal with it again, deal with another season of it all just being an absolute shambles where we don't know what a handball is, we don't know what a penalty is, we don't know what a goal is. What a horrible way to watch football. We need to do something. We need to make the change. Hopefully we can do it. But you've got to think to yourselves, what football clubs fans would have wanted VAR to say other than Man City, who it seems every single VAR decision benefited them. And I'm sure there were decisions that didn't benefit them, but come on, Michael Oliver was Man City FC under his referee shirt all season long with VAR. It was ridiculous. They were VAR officials who were fans of rival clubs and refereeing games with the rival clubs playing in it. How is that even possible? How is it even possible? If the PGMOL is so incompetent, we need to get rid of it. I'm sure VAR could work in the future, but it's not going to work next season. They're going to be instituting a new offside rule, which will only come in after the fall international break. So what happens if you're Arsenal? You have a goal unfairly given against you or a goal unfairly taken away from you. You then lose the league again by 2 points because of that one decision. But if it happened in December, it wouldn't have happened. So what is the Premier League doing here? It is horrendous what is happening. And all I can say is these other 19 clubs have to be getting paid off. There has to be some level of corruption within this because there is no way clubs would want this. Liverpool were about to sue the Premier League this year. Nottingham Forest were about to sue the Premier League this year. Luton Town were about to sue the Premier League this year. How is this still in place? And how is there only one club, Wolverhampton, that voted against it? We should all be Wolves fans by now because they're the only ones trying to protect the sport that we all love. It is awful, and we need to see VAR get rid of it because there has to be some level of money being paid off to certain people. You've got Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher 1 week saying, oh, it's awful. The next week saying, oh, well, I guess you can understand their decision making. Why? Because they got paid off. Or Sky Sports are like, you can't speak against VAR because we're funding them or they're funding us or there's something happening. Or, you get a match of the day or any other type of, podcast or any other type of streaming service or any other type of broadcast TV show where there's a former referee on it and they say, oh, well, we all like to protect our mates. Who cares if you're protecting our mates? Protect the actual game. Otherwise, go home. We don't want you anymore. It's terrible. You don't see this in the Champions League. You don't see this in La Liga. You don't see this in Ligue 1. You don't even see this in the Championship. But why is it in the Premier League? And it all has to do with money and the PGMOL being absolutely horrendous. But let's talk about club versus club now. We've got clubs fighting other clubs on this third-party funding rule. I've recently talked about it, so just a brief overview of what third-party funding is Manchester City, but then I also own, let's call it Virgin Gulf Oil, and I want to sponsor the Man City shirt with Virgin Gulf Oil and say I want to sponsor it for £1 billion. I can then funnel in £1 billion in the club that they would not have normally had. With a normal shirt sponsor, they may have gotten 100 million. So that's how third-party sponsorship works. And a couple of the teams that are kind of in support of Man City on this one are Aston Villa and Newcastle. Newcastle make a little bit of sense because they were recently bought by Saudi Arabia. They want to funnel money into it. And really, is it a bad thing that this could come into place and we allow Newcastle to spend the money? Because this would maybe allow to have a rival club go up against Man City so Man City aren't so dominant. But what it would do is it would hurt every single club who are not richly owned. If you look like a club like Manchester United, They have massive debt. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has like no money apparently because they can't either fire Ten Hag and buy him out, or they can't give him a new contract. They can't buy players they want to buy, or you look at a team like Tottenham, who again are another big club and can't do this as well. Or you look at Chelsea with Todd Boehly, who again would most likely want this because then Todd Boehly can then again funnel more money into it and comply with FFP. But like Mark Goldberg said, this is just a big marketing campaign for Manchester City. If they can get this rule kind of thrown out, that would now allow third-party spending, because there's a rule that doesn't allow it. Get this rule thrown out, it would pretty much erase the 115, and it would allow them to do this. But what's going to happen is you're going to have all these kind of super rich clubs fighting against all these, and again, it's the Premier League, so most clubs are rich. You know, you're rich just being in the Premier League, but you're going to have super rich fighting the rich, and all you're going to have is just a massive divide, so there's no cohesion within the Premier League. At least with the VAR decision, at least there was some, like it was 19-1, so like they're cohesively like, we're going to keep it, which like we're allowed to not be happy about it, but we can at least say that they're united on it. There's a united front. But in this, there's a massive division. So what's going to happen here? And I'm not just going to kind of say like, oh, like this shouldn't happen. Like again, like if Manchester United were bought by Qatar, it would be fantastic for Qatar just to funnel all that money in there, but they have to buy out the debt first and all that type of thing. But third party kind of affiliation would allow them just to funnel all that money in instantly to get rid of it. So what do you think? Who are you, like, who's your big favorite club? Who is the club that you support? Do you think that you'd want your club to support this, or do you think you wouldn't want your club to support this? And do you think that this is going to ultimately end to massive division within the Premier League and a loss of cohesion? Now, we can finally talk about this one club versus the Premier League, and we all know that is Manchester City fighting against the Premier League, which makes no sense. You've won 5 out of the last 6 Premier League titles. What are you fighting against with those rules? Why? Like they all benefit you. They're all for you. You third party spent your entire, from the 2010 till now, and now that you've built this amazing squad, now you're getting all the revenue in that's like legitimate revenue. You're like, oh well, we want to allow it again. Are you running out of money in the club? Like, do you just have no fans that you need to get more money, so you need to pump it in artificially? Because like, it's ridiculous. How are you saying this? And you've got their chairman or their CEO coming out today. Why does everyone mention the 115? Because it exists. If you were charged of murder, you'd have to expect someone to talk about the murder you might have committed. So if you're charged with 115 cases of breaching financial fair play, you have to expect people to talk about the 115 breaches that you're accused of breaking. Like, what world does he live in? Like, how entitled could he be to think that people would not mention the 115 when you've won 5 of the last Premier League titles? You're fighting against the Premier League for no reason other than you want to get rid of the 115. You know you're guilty because you're trying to get rid of it outside of the courts and trying to get rid of it before you even go to court with the Premier League, and you're trying to bog it all down. Because if you're confident you beat it, you'd go to court tomorrow and get it out of the way. But you don't want to do that. So don't say you don't want to hear about the 115, because you clearly do, because you're bringing up all these issues with the Premier League. Don't tell me you don't want to hear about the 115, because again, you clearly do. And I want to make this point very, very serious. You want to hear about the 115 because you're doing nothing to get rid of it. You're only making it stay there longer. So, like always, hope you have a good one. Talk to you next time.